everybody. I am Christina Soriano here from Bella Family, and today we'll be doing a special Bella Family Back to School segment with Leslie Josel. Thank you, Leslie, for being with us today. Leslie Josel is an
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Leslie is an ADHD academic and parenting coach, an award-winning entrepreneur, having founded Order Out of Chaos, a virtual company whose mission is to help parents guide their students to success in learning and in life. And she started this when her son was first diagnosed with ADHD, which she'll tell us more about later. She is also the creator of the award-winning Academic Planner, a tool for time management, a planner that helps students develop time management skills, and the award-winning author of 3 books, including the recently published How to Do It Now Because It's Not Going Away, an expert's guide to getting stuff done. I think we all need a copy. A respected resource on ADHD and executive functioning, Leslie writes the weekly Dear ADHD Family Coach column for Attitude Magazine, the premier magazine for adults and children with ADHD. She speaks to audiences all over the world, helping them utilize their resources to best navigate the task-driven world in which they live. And for the last 5 years, Leslie has been named by global gurus as one of the top 20 time management experts in the world. Welcome to Leslie, and I'm so happy to see you. And I guess we could start, we got a little bit in your bio, but what motivated you to start Order Out of Chaos?
So I always say, and if you go on my website, it's the first thing you see, it's all because of my son. And I do have to say this, I always, because I am a parenting coach as well, that the disclaimer I always make is that anything I do say about my son, I have his permission. And I think that's a really important distinction. So when my son was diagnosed at 5 years old with ADHD and executive dysfunction and a whole host of other things, there wasn't many things out there. He's 23 now, so that's 17. Did I do the math right? That's 17 years ago. There wasn't any information. There weren't podcasts and online magazines and all that good stuff. So I had to make up a lot of it on my own and use my intuition, my gut, to figure out ways to untangle his world. And so I put a lot of systems and structures in my house that back then were probably pretty novel and out of the box. And true story, friends saw it and asked me to do it for their friends. And all of a sudden my phone was ringing off the hook. And true story, I turned to my husband and I said, I don't do this for a living. And he went, well, I think you do now. And back then it was house to house, home to home, family to family. And now we are a virtual, global, online company and people come to us. We have about 75,000 parents and teachers who come to us for products, programs, workshops, webinars, and coaching, all to help students be successful in learning and in life. That's what we do.
Wow. I mean, I just think it's so amazing that, you know, you fulfilled the need in your own personal life, and now it's touching the lives of thousands of people. That being said, can you tell us about 1 or 2 families that you've worked with and how they've succeeded?
Sure. So I think what has been the most eye-opening, particularly for parents, I always say, like, we don't, and I'm not being disingenuous, I'm not being snarky, I'm a little feisty, I will say that, but we never fix kids. But we do fix parents, you know what I mean? And what I mean by fixing parents is, I mean, we help to change their mindset. So what has, I think, been the most successful is when we can get, we call them students, but they're really children. And we can get a child and a parent together in a room virtually and really get the parent to understand where that child lives. So my favorite example is we had a 16-year-old and the mom on video just like this. And it was a Friday afternoon, it was a long weekend, and the student had a project due on Tuesday. And the mother was going to me, I don't understand, why can't he do it now? He should be doing it now, like right now, it's Friday afternoon, he has all the time in the world. And very calmly, the son turned to his mom and said, my thing is due midnight Tuesday. You can yell at me at 12:01 and not a minute before. And that was really powerful for the parent to realize I have an expectation for my child to do it the way I feel it should be done, and I'm not listening to what he needs and how he works and what his best practices are. So that's just an example of like how we bring it to the table and really get a parent to embrace and understand that what works for you really might not work for your child. So that's just like a snapshot. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Sure.
It's those kind of dialogues and conversation that we have to really bring those differences to light.
Right. So if you're encouraging the caregiver or parent to collaborate instead of, dictate.
Exactly. And the other, I love that. It's all about collaboration, and it's really understanding. We have something that we say at Order Out of Chaos, that everybody shows up to the table with their own preferences and personality when it comes to sitting down and doing work. It's not just for kids, adults do too. So you might like to sit on your beautiful couch in a big open space. I have kids that like believe it or not, the coziness of the bathtub, no water, but the bathtub is
whatever works.
Whatever works. You like music, I like silence. I like to juggle multiple things. You might like to do one thing at a time. All of those are what we call best practices, and really tapping into that and getting everybody on the same page to understand that is really, I feel, what has been the most successful in both our parenting coaching and our student coaching.
Great. Wow. Well, I'm sure you've touched so many families with, this mind, like engaging them in a new mindset. It's, once that shift is made, I think that, mountains can be climbed, right? It's sometimes that's the smallest thing.
So one of our flagship things that we do at Order Out of Chaos is we give monthly webinars to our community. And and then no matter what we're talking about, it could be procrastination, it could be problem solving, it could be time management. I start every single webinar explaining what executive age is, because it's the mindset of the parent to understand that if your child shows up at the table with any kind of like organizing challenge, time management, focusing, distractibility, all of that, impulsivity, which a lot of our kids have, your child will be not their age. So let's say you have a 13-year-old at home. They're not going to be 13 if they have time management issues. They're going to be 9. They're going to be 30% less their age. So understanding even that dynamic is critical to understanding your child.
Great. Thanks, Leslie. So the season is upon us. The schools across the country are opening. Some have already started. I know that, where I'm currently in Long Island, starting September 1st, a lot of districts. I know the city is starting September 13th. What are I know you could probably list 20, but what are your top 3, if you could pick 3, back to school tips for families and children?
Okay, so yeah, you're right. We have families that started in the beginning of August, and I'm also in New York, and we're not starting until after Labor Day. So here are 3 of my favorite tips. I'm going to try to keep them succinct, and I'm going to show you because I do walk the walk. Every family, you see that? There's an analog clock behind me. So what we think when we do school supplies is we think binders and folders and all that jazz. Every household needs to have an analog clock hung in every room that your student does work in, or your student is even in. So I want you to think bedroom,
great tip.
Bathroom, kitchen, wherever. Your child needs to be able to see where they sit in time, to be able to know, be able to manage their time. So parents don't necessarily look at that. They're thinking, okay, school supplies, they're not thinking clocks, but not knowing where you sit in time is a disorganization. So we want clocks in every room of the house so your child sees how long something's taking them, right? When did I start? When do I finish? So tip number 1, analogs in every single room.
Love it.
Right? A little different. I wasn't going to bring you like, prepare the night before. I don't want to bring you that. I want to bring you things that your viewers might not be thinking about. The second tip is, and again, I wanted to bring you things that you can have an 8-year-old at home, you can have an 18-year-old at home. They work for everybody. Most of our students like to listen to music when they work. Heck, a lot of our adults listen to music, right? I don't know about you, I don't, but my husband turns the music on the minute he sits down. Something I learned about him during the pandemic. What I want you all to do is sit down with your kids or have them make a study playlist. Music helps us to plan. It helps us to initiate. We don't want the Spotify switch up. That's what's distracting, the constant switching. We want your children to have a playlist that when they hear that playlist, it sends that signal, it's time for me to activate and get going. Make it between 30 and 40 minutes, depending on how old the student is. And this way, they also know how long they have for that study or homework time. So it's not only a way to get activated, it's also a way to understand where they sit in time. So, and my older students sometimes make a playlist for each subject. So math, right? Math, you might need like some high energy music, whereas English, where you're writing, you might want some soft instrumental. So tip number 2, get those playlists going. Okay. And tip number 3 doesn't cost you anything. And that's the other thing. I didn't want to bring a lot of like, anything you have to spend.
I love it.
I want you, here's a challenge for all of you. Your child should never be sitting in the same place doing homework. Sitting, sitting is bad for us. Movement helps us to not only absorb information, but help our brain stay activated and engaged. So find the 5 spots in your home that your child is going to do their homework. And the wackier, the better. On top of the toilet, under the kitchen table, math in the bathtub, outside. It's beautiful right now, but come up with your list because we know that movement helps to get rid of that brain drain. The more we
I love that. That's great.
Or our brain just, put a fork in you, you're done. So we want to keep it moving, and to do that, and we need to move. And the other thing, a movement also helps distractibility. Absolutely. Think about it. When our brain gets bored, what's the first thing we do? Oh, let's see what's going on YouTube or Facebook, or if we're moving around, we're less distracted. So
I love that tip. That's amazing. Those are great tips. I love it. And they're cost effective.
Cost effective, doesn't matter how old your child is, and not the typical things that you're reading about in,
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you.
So,
in terms of, in the spirit of collaboration, I was so excited to talk to you because of your role as a parenting coach. I've been in the public school system for 15 years, which I can't believe. And, I, have to work with all kinds of families all the time with all types of learners. So what do you consider your role in terms of bridging a gap or being another piece in that puzzle of a child's educational team?
I'm just laughing because I don't want to give away, but this is an IEP for one of my parenting coaches. If I had to drill it down, I think what I do best when it comes to parenting coaching in the vein of bridging the school is really giving the parents the language to ask the right questions. So, a lot of my parents will say, oh, I just sent an email to all the teachers saying, how is my child doing? So, and what they might get back is your child has a B+ in my class. I don't want you to send that email. I want you to ask the very specific questions, like, how does my child show up every day? Does my child participate? Does he raise his hand, or do you have to call on him? What's he like in a group project? I'm not going to go through all them, but my point is giving that parent the language so that they can understand better what's happening, not only in the classroom, but even sitting down in an IEP meeting or a 504. I'm going to bring that up here because you don't know what you don't know. I hear that from parents all the time. I didn't know I could ask for that accommodation. I didn't know I could do that. And I feel I'm that gatekeeper. I'm the one going, you can ask for your child to be able to listen to music while they take an exam because they have test anxiety. I didn't know I could do that. Yes, you can. So I'm trying to distill it down, but I think that's my role, is giving parents, I don't want to say ammunition because that sounds negative. I think language is
I think it's also strengthening their, how they advocate for themselves and, I think even through the tone of how you're speaking, it's not a me against them. It's
No,
we.
never.
And it's, and I've seen that happen in several situations. And I love how, you're giving them language, you're advising them how to ask questions instead of it being like a statement, why aren't you providing this, right? And I think
Exactly.
that's so important. We're all on the same team, and I think that's the phrase I've used in so many years of doing my job. It's like we are all on the same team. We all want the same thing. We all want your child to succeed, and I think that is sometimes maybe not said enough.
100%. And it goes the other way too. Like, I also will encourage the parent and help that parent. You need to also supply information to the teachers. So how can you do that in a way that helps them? What can you tell them, especially after this past year, where the parent had that front row seat? They had a bird's eye view of what worked for their student, what didn't. Doesn't matter where your child sits on the scale of neurodiverse versus not, but you all were home with your child. So that information going into a new school year is so critical for a teacher. So it does work both ways. I'm all about the collaboration. It's not only what you want out of the teacher, but what you as the parent can provide as well.
Excellent, thank you. And if you just want to quickly just define some language for our viewers, if they may not know, especially if their child is not school age, what an IEP and a 504 is.
So IEPs and 504s, if your child has, I want to make this like so user-friendly, yes. So let's be quick. If your child has been, let's say, diagnosed with like a learning disability or ADHD, or even like anxiety or any of those types of things, you might be, and I want to be careful here, your child might be qualified for what's called accommodations in school to make sure that they are getting the education that they need. So what I suggest you do is first, because I want to be very clear here, is if you're seeing anything, go to your doctor first, and then approach the school and see if they're seeing anything, and have that initial meeting. And then it might lead to your child needing some support and scaffolding in the classroom and even outside.
Great, thank you. Now, we can go on forever, but
I know we can do
you have so many wonderful products. And I would just love for you to maybe highlight one or two for our viewers. Like, what are your favorite items?
So my favorite item, we do have many, many things, and please, but I think our favorite and our flagship, you might say, is I brought one, and I brought the pretty one, is our academic planner. So
beautiful.
I developed this because, well, first of all, I love it. It's award-winning. It's patented design, which I'm very proud of, that no one else will not find this anywhere else. But I want to really distill it down. 2 points I want to make. If your child cannot see their time, they cannot learn to manage it. That's just it. I can leave that statement right there. We have so many parents who say, I need my child to be better managing of their time. And my response back is, well, can they see it? So your child needs to be able to see their time. And it's not just what they have to do during the day, like meaning homework. They need to see when. They need to see the bottom here, which allows them to write in their activities, which automatically gives them a visual clue of when they have available time. So for me, now a lot will say, well, my kid still uses electronic. And my feeling is you cannot teach time management without seeing the whole picture. So there is always a place for a paper planner, and love it. And believe it or not, I do a lot of work with the paper planning board. Paper planners have skyrocketed. We are going old school. Kids are going back to paper. 100%.
Yeah, you want to know something? Because guess what? Sometimes technology can fail us, like your Wi-Fi connection.
Or it's overwhelming, or it's distracting. I hear it from my kids all the time. Not my kids, my coaching kids, where apps don't show them what they really need, or it takes too long. And when you write something, it commits it to memory. So our planners, I'm not here to sell you planners. I'm just here to talk about how planners can be so powerful to really give your child that holistic look of not only what they have to do. This is the question you need to be asking your child, when do you have the time? That's the critical question.
Right.
So that's my first product. And I will say that my second one, and I'm going to just say it, is every 95% of our students between the ages of 13 and 18 procrastinate for a
Right.
myriad of reasons. So my last book was all about procrastination. And what's really great about it, and I do have to say this, it's not just my voice. We went back and interviewed hundreds of the students that I've worked with over the years. So if you dive into the book, you're going to get real stories, real anecdotes, real answers. You're really going to get like the view of the student and why they procrastinate, as opposed to just getting it from like the coach. So I highly recommend parents read it, because you will really understand your child and what you're seeing at home.
Great. Thank you. So, Leslie, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I know this will not be the last time we chat. So how should families get in touch with you if they would like to learn more about your coaching services or your books or other products?
Sure. So we make it really easy for you. So the name of my company is Order Out of Chaos. If you go to our main website, which is orderoochaos.com, from there you can get everywhere. You can get our services, our podcasts, our blogs, our products, even our social feeds. You can go there and it'll take you wherever you want to go from there.
Leslie, thank you so much. I love catching up with you, and thank you for all these back to school tips. And we will be in touch later in the year, maybe do a mid-year check-in and how you can do a mid-year check-in with your children.
Awesome. I'd love it. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Thank you.
Bye,
Speak with you soon. Bye.